Tequila and Tofu, the plant-based podcast, episode 6, presented by redblackandvegan.com. Today, we got a very special show. We're going plant-based coast to coast. Plant-based coast to coast, from Jacksonville to St. Louis to Seattle. Pardon my technical difficulties, but we're gonna get the show started. We got our in-studio guest Sweetheart coming through pretty soon. Emerald City Vegan Eats, and we also have Miss Fawn Seir, first and foremost, coming in. Get the show started. Good morning. Now let's see if we can get Miss Seir on camera. Pardon me, to my Instagram viewers. We're not really trying to focus on Instagram anymore like that. Recording live, I should say. See, look at this. Look at this. I'm messing up. I was told by my wife to leave us alone, so I think I better. But we got Dawn on the screen already. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Bad host. Very bad host. Miss Seir, how you feeling this morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great as well. It's a lovely day. Kind of almost too cold for my druthers, but my cutoff is 60 degrees. And
I totally feel you. Being in Florida, when it dips below like 80 and the humidity kind of lowers, it definitely gets chilly.
Oh, that's right. Now, tell the people exactly what city are you in?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, that's great. Jacksonville. I love Jacksonville. One of the best cities to live in America. Don't let the media reports fool you.
Definitely. It's awesome here.
Now, when I came across your page on Instagram, the first line of your bio is what grabbed my attention. And if you recall, like, when we first started following each other, the first thing you asked me was like, well, what's going to be the topic of the show? And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, the first line in your bio automatically was going to be the topic for us to discuss. If you can, please tell people a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Fawn Seir, and I run the company called Cooking with Fawn on Instagram. I also have 5 different cookbooks, actually 4 out right now, and the 5th one is releasing next Friday. But I actually found plant-based eating through my journey with PCOS. And my husband and I were actually cannabis cultivators and hemp cultivators out west. So it was always a passion of mine to help others, especially those who didn't want to rely on mainstream pharmaceuticals or doctors to maintain their health or even achieve that health. And so through that journey, we kind of went organic, non-GMO, locally sourced animal products. None of my health issues really reversed or even remotely improved. It was always just kind of a bandage. In addition to the canna medicine that I was using as well. As you know, homeopathics will only go so far if you're still feeding kind of the root cause of the issue. And so even with my journey in cannabis and, you know, going to the gym and trying to take care of myself, things didn't really improve until 2017 when my husband and I watched a documentary on Netflix called What the Health. And we, at the very end of that documentary, they kind of piece everything together of for lack of a better word, the long con that is animal agriculture, the way that the healthcare system kind of ties into meat and dairy production and subsidies through the government. And it really spoke to me because I've also been a lifelong activist. So for me, going vegan wasn't very difficult. It was honestly going plant-based at first because I've always cooked. But I've never, when we went vegan, we literally did it overnight. We donated all of our food. We emptied out all of our freezer and fridge and donated it to our neighborhood at the time. And we looked at each other the next morning like, oh no, what are we going to eat now? So it became a journey of how am I going to recreate all of our favorite foods so this way we're not lacking nutritionally and allow it to align with the ethics that we've now found and tied into everything. Because truly veganism to me is kind of the largest intersectional piece of activism because it crosses over so many different kinds of injustices and social movements and political movements. And it's really crazy how most people aren't aware of that larger scheme. And it's always kind of looked at as a diet. For me, though, knowing that most people, everyone eats food. So for me, meeting people where they're at, and instead of hitting it hard with, all of the vegan ethics, my biggest way of kind of reaching people is where they're at, and we all love good food. So it kind of stemmed from helping women and everyone overall suffer less and live more, while also aligning ethically with, the things that most of us already know. We don't want to cause harm. We don't want to hold dominion over any sentient life. And it kind of bled over into all the other activism that I was doing. So lifelong activist and now plant-based cook.
Oh, that is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. Couple things that you had said kind of stuck in my head. How First of all, how long have you been vegan?
We went vegan 7.5 years ago now,
Okay.
2017.
Okay. Yeah, I should have said plant based. I'm sorry. Um, um, for the people who weren't listening or don't know or weren't here yet, can you explain what PCOS is? I'm sorry.
Um,
I'm sorry. Before you go, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Let me welcome in our other in studio. Our other video guest, Emerald City Vegan Eats has just logged in. And this is Andy.
Hey
Andy, how you
there.
doing? I'm Damon, and I'm the hip hop vegan from the Road Tripping Vegans, and we also have Miss Fawn Seir uh, speaking right now.
so to answer your question, PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it's actually a disorder that about 13 to 25% of women, they don't know the exact statistics because not everybody goes to the doctor, but they're estimating nearly a quarter of women actually struggle with this reproductive health issue. It causes insulin resistance, hormone fluctuations, and multiple cysts to grow on the ovaries. So it's incredibly painful. It's very difficult. And it could be life derailing as well. And I suffered with it from pretty much the time that I came of age to have a cycle. So about 14, 15 years old, I started having issues, and it extended until I was 28. And when I was 28, the largest cyst of my life had ruptured, and I ended up in the emergency room. And the ER doctor, it was exactly the dose of medicine that I needed. He came in and he looked me in the face and he looked at my chart and he said, if you keep eating whatever you want, if you keep smoking cigarettes, if you keep living a more sedentary lifestyle and you don't invest in your health, I can guarantee that you're going to be back here at least 2 or 3 times a year dealing with this exact issue. And for me, it was my wake-up call at 28 already that if I don't stop, I'm probably not going to be long for the world. And that kind of, started this whole journey for me. And after cutting out all animal-based products, cooking about 95% of our food from scratch and homemade, it truly has transformed my life. And it's something that definitely fuels my passion to help other women, because there are very few options that actually work long-term. And a lot of women don't want to go through that. So if we can combat it with lifestyle and diet, why not just start there? And that's kind of where Cooking with Fawn came in, is let me share all of the yummy and delicious recipes with everybody so that you know that you don't have to give up steak or chicken or hot dogs or cheese, and you can still have, a healthy cycle, healthy reproductive health, a healthy weight, and, just a healthy overall life.
Oh, that was wonderful to hear. because like I said, when I first saw that in your bio, it stuck in my head because that's not an issue that's relegated to anyone's race per se. All There's so many women, like you said, who've had to deal with this issue and this problem, and for
Absolutely.
someone to actually reverse that problem, that's something that's well worth anyone knowing that information, whether black, white, handicapped, whatever. And the handicap wasn't good, but as far as women dealing with that and understanding, because when you're dealing with that particular health issue, I know a few women who've had to deal with that. It also affects you mentally, very much
Absolutely.
so. And to know someone or actually hear someone as a woman, I'm not a woman myself, but for women to actually hear someone who's defeated that, and to know that there's a way out per se, knowing, like you said, the over the counter medicines, none of that stuff really works, and that's almost like a form of torture, for your body to actually have to deal with that continuously. Like you said, you dealt with that from a young age all the way up to being 28 years old. That's not a life that anyone wants to have or should have to lead. You know what I'm saying? Um, how does or did cannabis affect what you're dealing with as far as or now, do you actually cook with cannabis as well, or how do you do you incorporate that in?
Absolutely. So when we were farmers, we created a thing, or we actually replicated a thing called Rick Simpson oil, RSO. It's also called Phoenix Tears. It's the black tarry stuff, and it's the stuff that's actually canna medicine, to me at least. It's been proven to kill cancer cells and help just rejuvenate different dead cells, help rebuild stronger ones. And for me, that's really where the journey began, because I had been a consumer of the plant matter since I was about 2021, when I was living in Denver at the time. And that was before legalization. So it was all about medical, all about, patients getting together and sharing their information. And that's when I came across Rick Simpson. And for me, that oil, we're wired with an endocannabinoid system in our brain. We don't have an ibuprofen uptake system, but we have a cannabinoid uptake system in our body. And to be able to feed that and allow my body the ability to actually heal itself was a journey all on its own, because like I said before, homeopathics will only do so much. You can't go out and eat a double cheeseburger with an egg on top, take cannabis oil, and expect it to reverse your health.
Right.
It has to be, paired with a healthy lifestyle, and, going down that rabbit hole, realizing the plant-based benefits of the diet and how it can help reduce inflammation. It made me realize that, I can't just continue to slap a bandage on it. And I gave up caffeine. Caffeine is a huge one that I don't think women realize, especially in today's culture. Everybody wants to have, the cold pour, the pour over kind of coffee. And when you're making your body acidic like that, it's first of all, it's causing acidity in your body, which causes inflammation and could lead to cancer growth in the future. But caffeine in and of itself actually helps cystic growth. It makes them larger, and it makes multiple pop up at a time, at least in my experience. And so cutting out all of the things that kind of prevented the cannabis medicine from working fully was a life changer, because before then I still had the symptoms, but I was able to get away. Like, I don't even take ibuprofen. A little tiny rice grain dot of that of Rick Simpson oil is really all that you need to get started. And you slowly move your way up over the course of a month. And so, you start feeling the effects, and for a while you're just incredibly elevated. And then your body starts to take to it. Your receptors start to take to it. You take a little bit more and you work your way up to a full gram. And for me, pairing that with a plant-based diet, it reduced the inflammation, and I wasn't consuming the root cause of the issue, allowing that plant matter to really help. And it's kept the cystic production at bay for 9 years now.
Oh wow, that is outstanding. That is really great. I want to pause for a second because we now have our in studio guest with us. We want everyone to say hello to Renee, the owner of Sweet Art.
How are
Hi.
you?
Before we go any further, uh, Andy from Emerald City Eats,
Hey there.
Emerald City Vegan Eats. I'm sorry. I did not mean to butcher that name. Um, give us a little
No, you're fine.
give us a little background about yourself, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been mostly vegan for about 15, 20 years. I say mostly because there are times that I've fallen off the wagon, you get back on, and I like to represent myself fairly. And like I said, I say about 20 years. Grew up in Brooklyn and New York City, and when I was growing up, the vegetarian, the vegan options at that point were grilled vegetables. Like you go to the restaurant and maybe they'll have a grilled eggplant or something like that. And I wasn't really a fan. So, you know, as time went on, the vegan options got better. I remember when I first moved to Seattle, probably about 15 years ago, shopping at Whole Foods and whatnot, and the vegan cheeses. Um, I'm not a very picky eater, so I'll eat what's available. But the cheeses were kind of like very rubbery or whatever. And, fast forward to this day where we've got so many options. The vegan scene is just exploding with options and flavors and variety. It's crazy. So basically what I decided I was thinking about what can I do to just kind of add to the community, add something a little bit different. And with Seattle, Seattle's definitely, in my opinion, a vegan mecca. We have so many vegan restaurants, either vegan restaurants or we have restaurants that have a lot of vegan options. And so one of the things I originally set out to do was to create like a spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet to have a list of all the places that I've visited that had vegan options, list the vegan options, take pictures. It was kind of synonymous with happy cow, but it was something that I was maintaining myself. And that was my original intent. When I started doing that, then I kind of branched off a little bit. So what I started the Instagram page for Emerald City Vegan Eats. I also have a Facebook page as well, same name. And so I first started just kind of taking pictures of the places I would go, adding it to the log, posting it on Instagram. Didn't do too much with Facebook. And Instagram's kind of interesting. Instagram, basically, you can build up a following just by liking other people, they like you back. And the Instagram following is basically all, from all over, wherever, the country, the world, whatever it is. It's not really local. And so at some point, I decided to kind of build up the Facebook presence. And the Facebook presence for me is really important because that is more local. So let's say, if I have content on my page, I'll go ahead and I'll share it in the local vegan groups. And if I go to another city, let's say if I visit Vancouver or if I visit Austin, Texas, whatever the case may be. Whatever content I put on my page, I'll go ahead and I'll also share in those groups as well. So basically, the followers that I have in those groups, in that group, excuse me, that on my page, they're local. They're people that are familiar with the foods that I'm eating, and that's kind of really important to me. And lately, actually, I also started up a local Seattle vegan group. There's definitely quite a few Seattle vegan groups out here, Facebook groups rather, and I started up another one. I feel like a lot of times when you go to a big city and you want to go ahead and you want to communicate with local vegans in that area and you look up, let me see what Facebook vegan groups are there. And a lot of times there'll be like 2 or 3 Facebook vegan groups, and Seattle's no different. And so I decided to add to that. I feel like I have my reasons for doing that. And I feel like a lot of times different groups have their different niche. They serve a different purpose. And every group is great in what it serves and what services it provides. So the group that I just started, it's only has about 100 people so far, but I'm definitely looking for more people to join. Obviously, the more people you have, the more community that you can build. They can help one another, ask each other questions. The main premise for my Facebook group is no bullying. A lot of times in the vegan community, you'll end up having a lot of, you're not vegan enough, your vegan is not the same as my vegan, so you're not really vegan, all that kind of stuff. And for me, I'm not really a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of community, of bringing each other together. championing the good that people do. If if someone's vegan may be different than mine, but they're still making a difference every time they go and they make a plant-based, compassionate choice rather than eating a meat-based dish or whatnot. They're making a difference in the world, and so my thought process is to champion the good that people do, to encourage them to keep making those choices, and to have a community where we build one another up and we really support one another. So that's kind of the idea behind my Facebook group, and then the Facebook Vegan Eats page and the Instagram page. That's more about just kind of sharing. So when I go to a restaurant again, I'll take pictures. I'll share the pictures. I'll share little snippets about the restaurant. I don't like do reviews or anything. The food was too hot. It was too cold. It was this and that. My place in the vegan world is not to do reviews, and again, not to tear down. My view is to my place in the vegan world is to present information and let people know about things that maybe they didn't know before, whether that's a vegan option at a restaurant, whether that's a vegan option that I found at the local grocery store, whether it's something I came across on the web and I want to share that with people. So it's all about spreading awareness and growing community. And that's kind of my mission and my focus, I would say.
That's great to hear. One thing I do need to let you know, a couple of things I need to let you know is great minds think alike because you pretty much described my thought process for redblackandvegan.com is to
Cool.
really bring people together, bring the vegan community together here in St. Louis and nationwide,
Awesome.
worldwide. Um, and really along the same line, some of the things you said really are helping me understand how to do things differently as far as
Hmm.
doing reviews or spotlighting or things like that. Um, but I'm really on this. I've been on the same thing. Um,
Cool. Very cool.
we got an app in development that we're going to be bringing out, like Happy Cow, but it's going to be all just
Good.
strictly plant-based restaurants. No,
Cool.
no dilly dallying with the others. But
Okay.
before we go further, let me speak to my guest in studio, Miss Rain, not
Hi.
Renee. Her name is Rain. um, and I'm going to come back to Fawn and Andy in a second. I'm sorry.
All
Um,
right.
but here we have Miss Rain from Sweetheart here in St. Louis, which would, in my estimate, is the number one plant-based restaurant in St. Louis.
Oh, that's very kind.
I
Thank
mean,
you. Thank you. It's hard work. Hard
trust me,
work.
very good food.
Thank
You
you.
when you come to St. Louis, you're gonna love it. But
Cool.
um, couple of questions that we want to get to you first, Miss Rain, would be: are you plant-based?
I am. Yeah,
Okay,
I am.
and you're from St. Louis,
I'm from McKenzie, Tennessee.
McKenzie, Tennessee.
Yes.
What part of Tennessee is that?
It's in the western part, so it's kind of the small town halfway between Nashville and Memphis, if that
Mm,
gives you any sort of
yeah, I've
area.
driven through there a couple of times. A few years ago, I drove from Nashville to Memphis,
Okay, so
which is a
you
long
passed
drive.
us. Yeah, you
And
passed us.
driving through the South, going from here to Birmingham or Atlanta, you had to cross over from Kentucky to Tennessee.
Yeah,
So
yep.
I may have seen that town.
Yeah, it's brief, it's quick. It's quick,
How
but it's
long have you been in
beautiful.
St. Louis?
I've been in St. Louis for a while. For a while. I think my family relocated right before high school, so I've
Hmm.
been here for a while, but I get back to Tennessee when I can.
What my high school?
Kirkwood.
Oh, shout out to the pioneers.
Oh, you know. Okay.
Just a little bit. For you guys, where you went to high school in St. Louis is a very big, huge topic.
Mm.
How long have you guys been in business?
Since 2008. So
2008.
gearing up for year 16 in December.
Okay. Anything special launching for that? Or you gotta wait?
So we do have a second location opening up pretty
Mm,
soon, probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
that
Yeah,
is great to
yeah, very terrified to do that, but it's
Mm.
happening.
hear.
Um, and then some other things happening probably in the next 6 months. I can't say it yet
Oh,
because,
that's understandable.
things fall apart. But
Right.
Mhm.
Now, one thing I do like to ask business owners is why or what made the decision for you to go with vegan cooking?
you know what? In the beginning, it was vegan vegetarian.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that it's all vegan now because I want to be on your app. I heard you no dilly dallying with the
Right.
others. Yes, it's all vegan. But in the beginning, it was vegan vegetarian, and I had 3 little kids at the time,
Hmm.
and my middle son had just some asthma, allergy, eczema things, and I was just doing some research because I didn't want him to be hormoned out. Um, and they said, dairy and eggs might contribute to that. So we took out dairy and eggs and became 100% plant based. And that's how I really got into vegan baking because,
Mm.
he was in preschool at the time. You don't want to bring fruit cocktail cups to birthday celebrations. The kids would clown you. I had to figure out how to do vegan cakes that tasted really good. And at the time, there weren't any that were like light and
Mm.
fluffy and moist. So,
That leads to my next question, man. Because as soon as you said that, my mind went straight to the first time I had some baked goods from there. I'm like,
mm.
and as you guys are going to experience, how are you getting this so moist with
Oh,
no dairy? This is
yeah,
ridiculous.
love and magic, thing one, and lots, lots of trial and error. Just in the beginning, you hear so much about substitute with banana, substitute with applesauce, substitute with flaxseed for eggs and things
Mhm.
like that.
Hmm.
I eventually had to just create my own egg replacer.
Okay,
So I
Wow.
should sell it, but I haven't
please
been
do.
thinking about that. But I make my own egg replacer for cakes and cookies, and I knew that,
Oh.
the what is known in the world of vegan recipes wasn't working to
Hmm.
mimic that light and fluffy.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's part of the secret. That's
So
part of the secret.
St. Louis and the world, the secret is out. She's making her
Uh,
own. That's why y'all can't reproduce that taste. That's the reason why. Oh my God.
Yes,
Cause
and no one has that recipe.
just the other day, I'm not just saying this because she's in the studio. I did have the cranberry and orange
Oh,
buttermilk pie, and I was like, man, once again,
oh, good.
where's the creaminess coming from? But yeah, it
Fantastic.
was good. I like cranberries, and
Oh,
so
nice. Yes, a holiday treat.
So my next question to you would be, what would be your favorite dish to cook
Oh, you know,
slash best-selling dish?
slash best-selling dish. Um, so I'm a pie person. My
Hmm.
favorite, and I'm from Tennessee. My favorite, hands down, is peach cobbler. I do
hmm.
feel like that's a really great seller when we have peach cobbler, but that's what I like. I like making dough. There's a technique that I learned a long time ago to make it flaky. I love doing that. It's a very meditative process. I think the number one seller in the shop, and my brother is going to be doing the happy dance, is probably the main event chocolate chip chunk cookie. I named it after my brother, Jermaine, and that still is the number one seller of all time.
But I would have to go with that caramel pound cake.
Okay, okay. That was
That
gonna be
caramel pound cake. Oh my God.
right after the peach
As a
cobbler.
matter of
Yeah.
fact, I don't even eat carrot cake. But what is the carrot cake top crumb cake?
Yeah, that's a
That's what
good
it
one.
was. Yeah,
Thank
that was
you.
man.
Yeah.
But the first
That
time I
cardamom
saw it,
crumb.
it was Andy. It was like one piece sitting in there. It had like powdered sugar on top of it, and I'm like, it's just looking good. Then,
Wow.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you guys are making me want to plan a visit to St. Louis. That's
Please
for
do,
sure.
Andy.
I
Please
think
do.
the most important thing that I'm taking from this whole conversation is that as a home cook, I've just been given validation that the reason when I bake stuff, the reason it might suck is not because of my lack of baking skills, gosh forbid. It's because I don't have the perfect egg replacer. I feel so much better about my own skill. So not only is your stuff, not only is your food bringing love and joy to the St. Louis and hopefully beyond vegan community, it's also making home cooks feel better about themselves.
I. Now, Fawn, were you having any issues with baking? As far as your stuff coming out moist or super moist?
Not so much, but I kind of cheat. I do use the Bob's Red Mill egg replacer when I'm doing things like meatloaf or any other things that don't take well with flax, because I noticed like my chocolate fudge brownies are amazing with flax because it gives it like that undertone of like nutty flavor, but you don't want that in your meatloaf. So I've also kind of cheated to use the pre-made stuff. I don't have the special, homemade egg replacer yet, but it is really inspiring to know that that is possible. You're awesome. You're also making me want to come and eat at your place.
Please do.
Oh,
Come
trust me,
anytime.
Either at the new location or at 39th and Flag. Since we got you on right here, Fawn, what are some of the things that you really like cooking? As far as I know, you got an ebook.
Well, I have pretty much from breakfast to barbecue food to holiday. The Thanksgiving is in a few weeks or in a month or so. And for me, I love making Thanksgiving with the turkey and beef brisket and all the sides, and everything is homemade and plant-based. For me, before I went vegan and plant-based, I would have to say that I never really liked pork chops or steaks or fatty chicken breasts. And so I actually love them more now that I am plant-based. Ribs and steaks and chicken and high protein, high fiber, low fat, low calories. I love it. Those are probably my favorite to wow people with. But my husband and I are kind of more fitness vegans. And so for us, we kind of eat the same stuff every day. I meal prep pretty much the same, 4 or 5 meals each week. And we kind of just divvy that up. But it's usually TVP seasoned with some kind of taco or sauce, and thrown on top of a rice bowl with side veg and, stuff like that. So we're pretty simple in our day to day, but I love cooking. I also love cooking for non-vegans because I'm sure you can attest there's probably a lot of customers that come in that are not 100% vegan or plant-based, and they're just blown away by the fact that it is possible. And I love instilling that kind of hope in non-vegans, especially.
Right, because we were. I wanted to have someone who's vegan curious in the studio today, but he couldn't make it. Another question I wanted to ask you before I move on, with you being in northern Florida / southern Georgia, how is the vegan scene there? Because I know it's kind of. I was kind of taken aback years ago to see. This is before I transformed. I was amazed to see like turkey bacon and things like that, or turkey sausage in the Jacksonville area. Because I'm like, this is the South. But by the way, for anyone listening, boiled peanuts are just okay. It's an acquired taste. We're here in the Midwest. We are used to roasted and salted. But when I first saw them, I was driving. I drove down there. When I first saw them, I kept seeing all these advertisements on the side of the highway for boiled peanuts. So I'm like, man, I need to try these. And I had to get that roasted, salted aspect out of my head. Because they actually were good. They were good, but not the ones in the can from Walmart. No. Don't get those. But speak on the vegan scene in Jacksonville.
Well, we're actually 5 hours between 2 major vegan hubs. So when we moved here, I kind of told, my husband, I was like, it's okay if there's not a lot. And we jumped on Happy Cow and we drove around, and I was shocked. There's quite an extensive scene here. There aren't vegan specific, like there's not a ton of just straight vegan places, which was kind of disappointing. But again, when you hop on Happy Cow, I know you're saying, the riffraff of the others and everything, but that app really helped us find, like, there's a sushi place that has an entire menu from start to finish, including like 50 different sushi rolls. We've actually done date nights at places like Pink Salt, which is a Caribbean restaurant, and they do not have any vegan options, but they modified things for us and made some special things for us for special events. Crave Vegan, obviously, for those who are in Jacksonville, you already know Crave Vegan, Latasha and Lou, they are awesome here in Jacksonville. But then we have places like the Brunch House that also has an entire vegan section of their menu. So it was shocking coming from the West Coast where there's like, you can't even swing a purse without hitting 10 vegan restaurants. I kind of figured there wouldn't be much, but it's actually quite extensive. I was really surprised. And All of them are really good. One is actually owned by a chef, and he makes all of his meat replacers from scratch as well, as does Crave Vegan. So it's actually shockingly awesome. But my favorite places, excuse me, my favorite places, hands down, again, would not be in Jacksonville. South of us to Miami is kind of its own little pocket of vegan haven. And then you go up north to Atlanta and there's so many options,
Right.
so many options. And that was fun going to Atlanta and realizing, wow, we're in the like the deep South and there are these many options here. So, but in Jacksonville, there's also quite a bit, more than you would think.
I'll be in Atlanta next week, by the way. Charlotte and Atlanta. Um,
Yummy,
I'm
yummy.
actually excited to go to Charlotte because Charlotte. I don't know if you guys know this, but Charlotte has a restaurant that has a drive-through. They have like three different drive-throughs.
Mm,
Only
mm,
drive-through plant-based in the country. Um,
mm.
I'm sorry. One last question before we go, because Jack, I told you Jacksonville is one of my favorite cities. If you can recall Miller Ale House or A1A Ale House, any vegan options there, or have you had any vegan or slash plant-based paella?
I actually make my own, but I haven't found a place locally that has it. It's actually in my seafood ebook, and I make pretty much every kind of seafood andouille sausage. I have a jambalaya recipe and a paella recipe in my own book. So it's kind of fun because eating at other people's restaurants and hopefully one day your bakery, I get inspired by other people's flavors and textures, and
Mm,
my palate can pretty much pick up what's in it, and it's always fun kind of creating off of inspirations. So while there aren't many like in full-blown pubs, there aren't many other than maybe a Beyond Burger or an Impossible Burger. But yeah, the home base is definitely, my husband is quite spoiled, as he always says. So it's all about, keeping hubby happy. And that's also kind of what inspired me to make a lot of my dishes is, men think they have to go without. And it became kind of my mission to create things like lasagna and steak and chicken cutlet parmesan and ribs and all of these delicious things, but just in healthier forms.
that's great. That's great. Now, if anyone listening or looking in, you want to leave us a call, it's 515-599-1687. 515-599-1687. If you got any questions or comments for me, Rain, Fawn, or Andy, please give us a phone call before we log out of here. Uh, um, right now, I want to switch this back over to you, Rain. How has the public slash vegan community response to your business been?
You know what? I think when we started, so we opened in 2008, and I mean, it was fine in the beginning too.
Hmm.
It was kind of, people were curious. You said you had a friend who's vegan curious.
Right.
People were curious, and it was steady. It did well for opening up during that economic time frame because it was bad.
Right.
And it's just steadily grown. I think the vegan community in St. Louis really resonates with what we do. They are curious. And now you have the internet, and um, you can see so many other companies across the country, across the world doing various things. So now I'll get people DMing, can you make oxtail? Can you do this? Can you do that?
Right.
Like they just want more and more because they want it here in their city.
Hmm.
And it helps me, it pushes me to keep experimenting and trying to figure out this and figure out that and making it as from scratch as possible. So I love the St. Louis vegan community and the vegan curious community in St.
'Cause
Louis.
those same advertisements have been on my mind too. I'm like, how are they making oxtails?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm like, okay, somebody need to go and try this.
Yep,
But
I'm researching. I'm working on
now
it.
that's one thing that I like as well in regards to you and everyone here when you because what I've been learning I've only been plant based since the beginning of the year.
Hmm.
My wife, the Curly Vegan, shout out to her. She's been vegan 10 years.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
just knowing the amount of different research that you got to do and just coming across like you said different recipes or different things that you see and you want to try them or hope someone is trying them. A good example, I don't know if you guys know this on video, but um Miss Rain here is very very humble because so many people have done reviews and all kind
Oh,
of online things. That's why I'm so excited about you being with us today because we're a small entity. Um,
so are we.
I don't know if you can remember this
So are we.
video. It was a guy, kind of big guy, wore glasses. He was doing a review on the chicken sandwich. The guy started the video. He's like, yeah, somebody told me I need to come try this sandwich. It was the best sandwich that he ever had. And then he was like, as soon as he opened it, he was like, yeah, I hate. No, first thing he said was, um, first thing he said was, the thought of a chicken sandwich I think is gross. A vegan chicken sandwich is gross. Then when he opened the package, the first thing he said was, I hate sandwiches with a lot of sauce. He takes a bite. He doesn't say anything, goes in, takes another bite, so that automatically gave us validation, like, oh, this is good. And then he just went crazy, just talking about the food. And there's actually a guy that works there that looks like him. I think I asked him one day, like, did you do that video? Light skinned dude with the glasses.
Huh.
But yeah, he looks just like this guy. The guy was sitting in his car, and that was one of the
Sitting in his
things that
car. Wow.
oh yeah, it was, and because at the time I think I saw like about 5 or 6 different videos that like popped up about your place.
I never watch reviews.
Oh, well, you would like these. Trust me, they
I
are
never
well worth
watched
watching.
them only um, because I don't want to be swayed by it.
Hmm.
So I don't want to be swayed by adoration, and I don't want to be swayed by hateration. I just want to keep like trying to be better to me,
Hmm.
and to hear. I get feedback, but sometimes reviews have become a little theatrical.
Right.
Mhm.
People want to like become
Absolutely.
reviewers.
Hmm.
So for the longest time, even when I started, I was like, don't get caught up in the star ratings. Don't get caught up in,
Hmm.
you can't get caught up in the love or the hate. You just got to stay focused and keep
Yeah.
Yeah, because
ascending.
everyone's not gonna
Yeah.
like everything.
Yeah. That's so true.
And
Yeah.
I'm like you, Andy. I don't really want to say anything negative about anyone that I've that's let that, that's letting me record in their facility per se, or if you're talking about someone's business or their food. I don't want
Oh
to
yeah.
dwell on anything negative.
Yeah.
I would just
Yeah.
I'm like you. My whole thought process from the beginning is just getting out the plant-based message
Yep.
and
Right.
and letting people run with it from there. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to be online
Yeah.
talking about, hey, this don't really taste all that good. But
Yeah.
at the
Well.
same time, I don't want to come off like I'm just praising everyone. But
Right.
Right.
if you like it,
Right.
you like it.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So
think there's a balance. If I'm showcasing a product, it's not like from a local vegan restaurant. If it's a product I found in a store, I might give some constructive criticism. I'll be a little bit more lenient, but still, I try to be mindful. I don't want to say anything outright bad, but definitely if it's a local place, exactly what you said. I don't want to come across like, oh my God, I love everything. I have a blunted palate, so usually I do love everything because I
mhm.
can't pick up on subtle flavors. But still, I want to, taste is so subjective, and I will say it's a pet peeve of mine when someone goes into a Facebook group and is like, "Oh my God, I just ate at this place and it was horrible, and this was horrible. This had
Right.
too much of this had too much of that, and this didn't have enough of that." I think there's got to be a balance because people should be free to share their opinions so that if other people have the same opinions, they can kind of learn, and then the restaurants can learn as well. So I think there's something to be said about expressing oneself, but a lot of times I've seen these platforms use as a launching pad to place an attack. I've literally seen like people post the same negative post about a restaurant in 3 different local vegan groups, and it's like, it doesn't serve the community, and
Right.
it's so subjective, right? So
Right.
there's a balance there. I do want to mention a couple of things real quick. You mentioned about boiling peanuts. If you have an Instapot, if you don't, you should get one. But if you have an Instapot, you can get a big bag of peanuts. I get them at Costco. If you have a Costco membership, you can also get like a huge bag at like a local feed store, FEED feed store. I have braces, so I don't enunciate well. So sometimes I'll spell out the word because I don't enunciate properly. But at a local feed store with the peanuts, and you put them in the Instapot for about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, depending, and you spice them up the way you want. They come out so good. Now, if you're not a boiled peanuts person, you won't like them anyway, but it's a way to make them at home and make them exactly the way you like them. And as far as the oxtail, there is a place. I'm just going to do a shout out here, if I may. Well, let me ask you, may I do a shout out to a place?
Oh, we was going to ask you to do some various shout outs if you can.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll do one quick one now, and I'll be happy to do more. This one is not local to Seattle, but they're in San Antonio. Oh my friggin' goodness. They're called Binge, Binge, Binge Kitchen. They're in
Okay.
San Antonio and all vegan, and it's a soul food place. And they have oxtail, they have mac and cheese, and all these kind of rich, delicious foods and dishes you would associate with soul food. And it's, oh my goodness, so decadent. You walk out of there like, easily 10 pounds heavier, but the best 10 pounds in your life. So if you're ever in San Antonio and you have the chance to visit, I don't want to say I would recommend them above anybody else because I think everybody deserves equal billing, but they offer something unique. I think a lot of times when you go to different cities and there's always a lot of vegan offerings, soul food is not always one of soul food. Maybe there'll be one in that city if you're lucky. In Portland, they have one called Dirty Lettuce. So, but in Seattle, we do not have a vegan soul food restaurant. So I think they're harder to come by. Binge Kitchen just does it right on every level. The food takes a good amount of time to come out, which is a good thing because you know that they're not emphasizing speedy service, and the service is fine. Don't get me wrong, but their emphasis is on food coming out when it's damn well ready to come out, and when it comes out and hits your plate, you're just going to be so happy. So yeah, when you guys were talking about oxtail, I didn't want to interrupt, but my brain's like, oh my god, binge kitchen, binge kitchen.
And that's what this is about though.
Cool.
As far as tequila and tofu, the plant-based podcast at 515-599-1687. When you do find out any kind of restaurant information, you want to share that. And like you
Yeah.
said, you get excited, and like omnivores or slash herbivores, omnivores I should say, they think the first thing that a lot of people want to say is, "Oh, you're preaching, you're preaching, you're preaching." It's like, no, I'm not preaching.
Right.
I'm sharing. I'm
Yeah.
sharing this happiness. I'm sharing these health benefits. I'm sharing this information because I want other people who may be like Fawn going through PCOS or anything
Mhm.
like your kids were going through
Yeah.
any kind of issues. You just want people to experience that same kind of level of happiness or a mental strain being lifted. You're not preaching. We're not preaching. It's just like, man, hey, I'm
Really
living
quick.
this life now, and I really wish other people
Yeah.
would get a chance to experience this because it's like I tell people all the time, man, we're not missing out on taste in no way, shape, or form. No taste, no
Great.
protein.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm having a ball because I like eating. When you like
Me
eating,
too.
and you like eating different foods. You like you say, when your palate is developed and open, it's you. Once you come to the plant based side, you realize it's just so many different ways and things that you can eat, and it's just great. I'm like I said, I'm ecstatic. Like I'm so happy today. I'm really a laid back person, so my ecstaticness is not really showing like that. But to have everyone here this morning sharing, whether it be in studio or video link, is truly amazing because we just started this in February, and
Cool. Very cool.
um, trying to build things up, as you guys know, is very hard. I've been trying to balance between, like I was telling Fawn earlier, being on Instagram and building up YouTube,
Hmm.
because
Mhm.
I was so focused on YouTube at first. Then I got like, I got to build up followers on Instagram,
Yeah.
and I
Hmm. Yeah.
got away from being on YouTube. Rain, I want to ask you. excuse me, have you guys ever thought about a food truck?
You know, we had thought about a food truck. There isn't anything that I haven't thought about in trying to keep a business going because it is hard and you want to have some legs and some growth.
Hmm.
I do know there are a couple of plant-based food trucks and I think they do really well. My only hesitation had been in the past, is it just at events? Are there enough places
Right.
where you can pop up and have the support,
Hmm.
especially when COVID happened and people were working remotely. There wasn't like a busy downtown. I think downtown is trying to get its legs back again, but I just never thought, is there a place where we could like put the truck and have like the constant
Right.
support? I don't know if that's how it is right now, but I do know a couple of people with food trucks and
Yeah,
they're dedicated to it.
the area downtown that you're
Hmm.
speaking of, and yeah, I usually see about maybe no more than 4 to 5 food trucks there.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's hopefully gonna be a burgeoning scene.
I hope so. I hope
Because
so.
we got a lot of vegans here in I should say plant-based eaters here in St. Louis, and we're just trying to bring them all together.
Hmm.
And to piggyback on what you were saying before, Andy, about to anyone who's calling themselves a vlogger or a reviewer, um,
Hmm.
when we're speaking about making negative comments, whether online or on video or whatever, as Rain can attest to right now, it is much too hard to operate a business when you got to deal with someone being negative. If you don't like the food or the atmosphere or whatever it was, there's no need to put that out in the atmosphere really, because now I can understand if you had some really horrible customer service somewhere,
Right.
because I'm big on customer service, as we all are.
As am
Hmm.
I.
But when you're talking about how some businesses have to have a flex menu just to stay in business,
Hmm.
Yeah.
this is really hard to stay. It's hard to stay in business if you're not plant based,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
doing just plant based is very hard, and
Yeah.
people, and this is people's livelihoods
Hmm.
that you're dealing with on a day to day basis when you're making these comments.
Yeah.
So be mindful and cognizant of that when you're talking about how I went somewhere and the sausage tastes like wood. I mean, because I had that happen before, but I didn't say anything because I know what these people
Hmm.
are going through. So it's
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
it's much too hard to operate a business, and like you said, when you're dealing with product that doesn't have preservatives in it.
Right. Right.
So that's it's much too hard to do that. So people, please keep your negative comments to yourself. Don't do that. It's not
I
conducive
agree.
to a positive environment. it,
The
it,
other
it,
thing too, if I can interject,
please
is
do.
we want people to adopt the lifestyle. And for me, it's kind of inviting people to come to the party. You want people to think that everything is, going to be healthier, better, more sustainable, socially conscious, ethical, all of that. And you don't want it to be this big preachy thing. So for me, my husband and I always have a saying, we're farmers and all we're going to do is plant seeds and invite you to the party. And it's up to you to
Mhm.
water and grow and come and join us. So it's never pushy. And maybe that's where my
Mhm.
activism went from, taking to the streets and marching for it to, oh, really? That's interesting that you have that objection. Here, try this real quick. And
Yeah.
it's always, wow, that's so delicious. This is vegan food. This is plant-based eating. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Everybody already has the ethical compass to want to be vegan. It's just about they feel they're going to be giving up their entire lives. And for some reason, bacon is like, oh my God, the world is ending. We can't have, this or that. And it's more about planting those seeds like, hey, did you know about this and that? Oh, you don't want to hear about it? Here, try this real quick. And it's like, oh, well, this is really good. I can get on board with this if this was available. And it's like, well, it's easy. And it's a fraction of the cost of what you're spending. So yeah, I mean, I've been to places before too out west that they weren't my cup of tea, but they were always busy. And why would I come online and bash somebody else's hard work just because it didn't fit my palate? Doesn't mean that other people
Yeah.
don't go there and load up and enjoy their food. And you want those businesses to stay open. Otherwise, people have less accessibility to the types of foods that will lead them into the right direction. So yeah, it's just plant seeds, invite people to the party, and bashing one another doesn't project a good image of the vegan community either.
Quickly,
So,
for everyone here, what's the funniest or strangest comment you've heard from someone about being eating plant based?
hmm.
Mm.
I would say, I mean, one comment that I see a lot that just makes me roll my eyes. You see this all the time in all the forums and whatever. Um, well, vegans are always talking about, they're always talking about, fake meat and this and that. But if they miss meat so much, why don't they just go back to eating meat? And it's like I get tired of explaining it, to be honest, because it's like talking to a child. I don't mean to be insulting, but it's not a difficult concept, right? It's like I like the taste, I like the texture, I like the smells. I don't like the cruelty aspect.
Hmm.
So for me, it's being able to have those, being able to have the same taste, texture, smells, whatnot. Just relive memories when I was a childhood, without at the same time thinking that an animal had to suffer for me to have that experience. So I tend to be very pragmatic, and I tend to be. I tend to be a straight shooter to a fault. So with that, I'll just say it's not very damn difficult, but people need to, like you were saying before, like when people, Rain, you were saying before about the reviews, and people need to get very theatric in their reviews. And it's the same kind of thing. People, even when they're, interacting online, they need to get other people on board with their comments, and nothing sells better or quicker than hate, right?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. So if you can make some stupid, unintelligent comment. Forgive me, but if you can make some stupid, unintelligent comment, and then you get 100 people on board liking your comment and adding to it, yay me!
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating when I see that. So it's not difficult to imagine why we eat the way we do. But
Right.
I would say that's kind of the most ridiculous comment that I see. And that's not, I will say, that is not a knock against somebody who's not a plant-based eater, or not a knock against somebody who's a carnivore. I believe everybody's on their own journey, and they'll find their own path, whatever that means. I don't believe in knocking people just because they're not on my path. That doesn't help them. But it is a knock against really ridiculous comments when people are knocking a compassionate lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right.
I would probably say that because my focus is health, the way that, again, everybody eats food. So for me, it went from street activism to planting seeds with food. And the biggest issue that I always get is, well, you guys are going to be anemic, you're going to be unhealthy, you're going to be nutritionally deficient, you're not going to be able to work out and lift weights anymore, your husband's going to look like a frail little simp, and, all the things that come online, especially to, you vegan and plant-based eating men. It's kind of ruthless. And my favorite way of combating that is always showing my health records, because there's no denying blood work, there's no denying health records, and there's no denying before and after photos. There's no denying how good the food tastes. And for me, I just combat it with love, because like you said, there's enough hate in the world already, and we want people to come to the vegan party. So for me, it's just about, not letting those comments get to me, which I know if you're especially working online, building a business, it's difficult to tune it out sometimes, because you'll be trolled. Oh, we're supposed to eat meat. See these teeth over here. And it's like, okay, well, your digestive tract, your stomach acidity, your claws and
Mm.
teeth could not track down a cow and eat it and kill it. Like, let's stick in reality. And, again, just showing them what's available and what is possible. And when they do see the photos, they do see the blood work, they're like, oh, I guess, they kind of just cower away and say nothing. And that's ultimately the greatest victory for me, at least, is being able to shut those down, meet it with love, and still invite them to the vegan party. It's like, well, you might not be ethically there, because for me, like I said, it's the biggest intersectional topic that there is. It goes across so many different platforms, and being a civil rights activist and just an activist across the board for every marginalized group, it just fits into what already has been a part of my life. But most people don't want to hear that. So here's bacon and eggs, here's ribs, here's mac and cheese, and don't you want to do it too? It's good for you. Look at how good it can be for you. So
Mhm.
just tuning out the negativity, meeting people's hate or ill-informed comments with love, and just proof.
Great. She almost described that rap. that y'all got.
Yeah, really.
They got a soul
Yeah.
food wrap. As you can tell,
That's
I've been in
very
that spot a
true.
few times.
That's very true. I concur with everything that Andy and Fawn said. I think the biggest thing I still get, and I'm so surprised, is the protein question. Like,
Yeah.
how are you getting your protein? How are you? My fiance is also plant based, and he's all muscled out,
Hmm.
and I'm like, well, obviously we get the protein that we need. And protein is really big right now in all things fitness. You want a gram per body pound, and it's like that's a lot. But
Yep. Yep.
but yeah, my biggest is still how do you get your protein? You won't be able to have energy. You won't be able to function. I think sitting on top of the next phase of life, which is my 50s. I still have energy. I'm lifting heavier than I've ever lifted. I'm not nitpicking. I'm not eating like chicken and steak and all these things.
Hmm.
I do the pea protein. I do a great soy-free tofu. Um, I doubt I'm getting as much protein as people think I need, but I'm also stronger than I've ever been, and
That's
I'm older.
yeah. That hibiscus punch is great too.
Oh, thank you.
Don't please people. Don't think I'm just saying this stuff because she's in the studio. I actually do go to this restaurant and I spent a lot of money there.
Thank you very much, because I have kids in college and I need it.
I'm getting off track for a second. So I'm thinking about their food. What would you say makes Sweet Art different than any other plant-based restaurant?
The one thing that I think stands out that I've not seen elsewhere, and I'm sure it might be in another city that I just haven't seen yet, is that we do a whole menu, a whole savory menu, but also all the baked goods. So I've not been anywhere where, there are baked goods that run the gamut of cookies and pies and cakes and brownies, but also
Mm,
there's burgers and chicken sandwiches and kale salad and curry chickpeas and mac and cheese and all of the things, like both sides. Usually you have a dessert or two at a savory place, or you'll have a bake shop only place that might have like a savory flatbread
mm.
to offer. So I think that's
Yeah,
what people, yeah.
the more I think about it, now that you said that, because just thinking about St. Louis Vegan Market or Veg Fest, it is mostly if someone's doing baked goods or sweets, they just do that
Yeah.
specifically. And then yeah, I never even thought about that. Andy or Fawn, can you guys speak on that? Andy, in the Seattle area, do you see that like where you see like baked goods on one side predominantly, or someone doing a mixture?
Um, I would say so. We have it's a yes and no. I don't. There's a mixture, but I don't know to any great degree. So an example would be a place that's not too far from where I live, and I go all the time, called Bayside Cafe, and they're kind of like vegan diner food. They have some salad options and this and that, but generally you're not going there for health food. You're going there to eat really hearty, healthy food, and so they've got their main dishes, and what they do is kind of unique. Actually, I appreciate it. So they have cupcakes that are provided from a different provider.
Mm.
It's called all or nothing cupcakes, and so I guess I don't know how they work their contracting out, but basically all or nothing provides them with the cupcakes, and these are like the most decadent, amazing cupcakes you can imagine, and so they. You can when you go, you can kind of order that. That wouldn't be quite along the same lines, I don't think, but it's something unique that I appreciate. Um, I'm sure there are definitely dessert options in vegan places, but as far as a vegan place that is as much of an eatery as it is dessert, I would say nothing's jumping out at me at the moment. Please don't take that as a gospel. There could be places I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head, but off the top of my head, nothing's jumping out.
It's cool. Like I said, in March I'll be in Seattle.
All right, cool. Yeah, definitely hit me up. Get you some good places out there.
I'm actually like I said, I'm trying to go to the tournament when I can. And
Okay.
my plan is to come there the 21st, and
Okay.
on the 22nd of March, it's going to be either Vancouver or Portland, one of those
Mm.
two. Preferably Vancouver. But I really want to go to Voodoo Donuts, even though I'm not a big donut person in Portland. But I'm just trying to get anywhere I can and see plant based differently than just in St. Louis.
Yeah, if you're in the Seattle area, I mean, you can't go wrong with Portland or Vancouver. Both of those places are amazing places to visit, amazing vegan options. It's crazy. If you're in Seattle and you're looking for some great donuts, I know Voodoo Donuts was actually going to open a location here, but as far
Mm.
as strictly 100% vegan, we've actually got a couple. We've got Mighty O's. Mighty O's has been an institution here. They've been here forever, and they actually won. They won a national. I forget which one it was. One of these, like on the Travel Channel or whatever. They had like it was a donut competition, a pastry competition, and it wasn't a vegan competition. It was just a pastry competition, and Mighty O's won the whole thing. This is back in like 2010.
Mm.
If you Google it, you'll find it. The video, the episode is probably still available. And then also Doughjoy is another one. Their donuts between Mighty O's are different, but they're so amazing. They have amazing flavors and artistry in their donuts, and they have amazing themes going on. So yeah, Mighty O's or Doughjoy are like must visit places when you come to Seattle.
Fawn.
Out here, we used to have a place called Southern Roots Filling Station, but they went out of business when the landlords wanted to sell to a big developer. So we used to have a place that had everything all in one, but because there's like maybe, I think there's 4 vegan specific places. One of them is Sweet Theory Baking Company, and they are amazing. The line is always down the street. Every single weekend, all of the rush hour times, just a line all the way down the street. And talking to them, it's awesome because most of the people in the line are not vegan. So that's always like my favorite is seeing people who aren't already eating that way. And they're lining up for the ice cream and the breakfast sandwiches. And they have just case after case of, they can make custom cakes for you. They have buttermilk buttermilk biscuits and different kinds of biscuits that they make. It's phenomenal. But I think because there are very few vegan places, and one of them specifically is an entire vegan bakery, we don't see too much like going to a cafe or a restaurant. It's pretty rare to find a vegan option that isn't pre-made or that isn't, like a bran muffin or something. But we do have Sweet Theory Baking Company, and anybody watching that's in Jacksonville, whether you're vegan or not, go check it out. It is amazing.
Yeah, something just popped in my head. There's a lady. I don't know. I can't remember the name of her business. She's famous for her desserts and she's in Jacksonville. She mails them out nationwide. Oh
That's
man.
some my husband's trying to think of who that is too.
Y'all know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yep, definitely. There's, like I said, there's very few that are actually doing that here in Jacksonville, but we've actually met a lot of people at it's called the Riverside Arts Market, and it's every Saturday in Riverside under the bridge and on the Riverwalk, and it's just flooded with every kind of vendor and street food and food truck. And there's so many people who are doing it on their own, building, websites, building social media following, and then show up to these events. And like Ty's Pies, for instance, he only does healthy, gluten-free desserts, and all of it's from scratch, and all of it is phenomenal. There's a couple of women, I believe they came from Atlanta. I cannot remember their name. I'm so sorry, but they do custom cakes and cupcakes as well. And we actually stopped behind their truck. They were on their way to the beach for an event, and they had their trailer out, and it's just a couple of women. I think it's a sister combo, and they make all of their, like, everything that you can think of. It's delicious, but a lot of the finds are kind of through individuals like myself and other vendors locally, because there aren't very many vegan specific spots to choose from.
I want to thank you for that information. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who's chimed in and looking in on Instagram on the Road Tripping Vegans or redblackandvegan.com. It was been wonderful for you guys to check in and check us out. Thank you so much, because you could have been doing anything else this morning, and you are checking us out on Tequila and Tofu, the plant-based podcast. Rain, I wanted to ask you before we get out of here today. Any advice for anyone looking to get into business?
Don't give up. That's the biggest. The biggest is don't give up. I always tell people if the idea comes, it's coming outside of yourself, which means it's coming from God, like that desire to even to do your podcast, to do anything, the desire comes outside of yourself because I think in my to me, God knows your gifts. So I didn't go into baking and cooking. I went to school for English and French, which is not anything that I'm doing right now. But I kept having this, gosh, one day I might have a bake shop. Why do I want to have a bake shop? Why do I like doing this so much?
Mm,
Leaving a corporate job and coming home and making a cake and wanting it to be from scratch and just playing with recipes. It was a desire. And I'm just glad I didn't give up because it made no sense. You know, I come from people who are like, you have a real job with benefits. Why would you ever leave that to go and do something that's, no certainty involved? Um, but I just never gave up, even when the business was struggling and broken and failing, because in almost 16 years, it's been all of that. It's had many mistakes and many down moments, but I just didn't give up. So I would tell anybody thinking about it, don't give up. Start, get started and don't give up.
that's great to hear. That's great to hear for all of us, especially myself, but anyone out there listening who we've had people on the show that they're wondering about should they go into business, should they bring their food out. This is just further validation for you to understand that you had that idea for a reason.
Yep.
Bring it to fruition
Yes.
because there's nothing like helping others and getting the message of being plant based out.
Hmm.
It's just been a joy of mine to actually be able to tell people I do live this way now, I do eat this way now, and just to experience the health
Yeah.
benefits. Like we were talking before. I don't know if you heard, but Fawn has reversed PCOS
Yeah.
through her diet.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
and myself, I've been healing from osteoarthritis.
Hmm.
I don't have to wear knee braces like I used to,
Mm.
but
Mm.
to the people from FMLA, I'm still dealing with it though. I want y'all to think like that, but um, once again, I want to thank everybody for coming by today. This was truly amazing. We got a lot accomplished in a very short amount of time. Before we go any further, I did want to ask, with Fawn having ebooks for sale, had you ever thought about having a book,
I
a
have an
cookbook?
ebook called In the Love and Magic Kitchen, and it's available through my website, so sweetheartstl.com. I have that ebook there. I'm actually, when you said vegan curious, I'm actually starting a plant based consultation called Vegan Curious to help
Hmm.
people transition and develop recipes that fit their home and their lifestyle because I want people to not be intimidated by the process. And it just takes, sometimes it takes somebody rooting you on and helping you develop some things. So,
Now, are you, as far as when you're talking about this consulting,
hmm.
will you be like, and you guys can speak on this as well, trying to get people, or I'm not get people, trying to help people deal with their discipline, their mental discipline? Would you say would that be one of the one of the focuses?
You know what? For me, I think you get people with their palate. So, teaching people how to season and create things that they want to eat.
Mm,
Because I think sometimes, especially for the people who've approached me to do this sort of thing, they are nervous about the price of going plant based because so much of the processed food is really expensive to them. Um, and I want to teach them how you can make a spectacular pot of beans with a great sofrito that you can make in bulk and freeze and have that pot of beans be a burrito, be a tostada, be a bowl, be a this, be a that. Teaching them how to create delicious meals without fearing an enormous budget to do so. So
Hmm.
they eat more plant-based foods.
That's great. That is so great. Because I think a lot of people, um, they get intimidated by the cooking aspect
They
or the
do.
preparation aspect. They think they have to do too much, and it's like, no, you
Yeah.
don't really have to. It's just regular
No.
cooking.
Yep, it
You know,
is.
you
You
know what
just
you
gotta
like to
know what to
taste,
do. Yeah.
right?
Just gotta know what to do.
Um, Andy and Fawn, either one, can you guys share with me or us, I should say, a favorite plant-based dish? If you had to go, if you let's just say you're going to the
Mhm.
firing squad today, and it's your last meal,
Yeah.
what would that last meal be?
You want to go first, Fawn? If you're not ready, I can grab it. And you
Man,
have
no,
time to think.
go ahead because that's a difficult one. There's so many to choose from.
Yeah. So I would say so. Basically, I'll give you just a little bit of segue here. I love Instagram, Facebook video, and YouTube. I love when you watch these 3 minute videos. I'm like a Gemini. I'm a Gemini with ADD, right? So I love the instant sound bites. I love watching a 3 minute video, and then all of a sudden I watch that 3 minute video, and I'm like, damn, I am like a sous chef now. I can do this. I love
Mm,
like big bang. I love bang for the buck stuff where there's like not a ton of recipes, but there's not a ton of ingredients rather,
Hmm.
but there's a few ingredients and you just do a little bing, bang, boom, and then you've got an amazing dish. So with that, there's a dish that I found recently, mac and cheese, and it's really so simple. It's using tahini. There's no oil except whatever's in the tahini, but it's I don't remember all the ingredients, but it was really so simple, like mac and cheese, so tahini, some nooch, the water, and it just cooks up pretty quickly, and it tastes so good. It's a different it tastes slightly different than like the day a box mac and cheese, which I'm a big fan of anyway. But the idea that I can whip something up from scratch and it's super easy to make and it's pretty much basic ingredients. I love that kind of stuff. So that would be the first one that jumps to my mind is the tahini mac and cheese.
mm,
For me, honestly, like I said, my husband and I eat pretty simply and mainly for fitness. So if it was like my last meal, ironically enough, I would probably do. I heard you say that you do soy-free tofu. I use Big Mountain Farms fava bean
Me
tofu, and it
too.
has 64 grams of protein per block. So for me, like I love chopping that up, throwing it into some a mix of corn flour and spices, and throwing it in the air fryer and serving it over rice with broccoli and any other veg that I want. Kale is huge in reversing inflammatory type issues, so I always eat a ton of kale. But I love tossing the air fried tofu into bang bang sauce. And bang bang tofu is probably like if it was my last meal, ironically enough, I think I'd go with bang bang tofu.
Mm,
all right. And
mm.
Rain?
That sounds so good, fun. I love Big Mountain Tofu. I love it. I'm trying to buy it in bulk. Um,
Yes,
I,
yes.
you know what? At first, when you asked that question, I was like, man, it's too much good food for me
Mm,
to figure out which one it is. But I will say this: every Friday, I make a deep dish pizza. So I have to
mm,
say that is my one meal that I have every week that I look forward to. I make like a Detroit style crust, and it's kind of gluttonous. Sorry, Fawn, because I know you're health conscious, but I put down like olive oil and cornmeal, so it's all kind of oily and good on the bottom. Um,
mm.
Yeah,
and
but like we're all human. We love yummy food. So like we'll have a cheat day every week or every other week. So I feel you on that because
yeah,
we're all humans. We're not perfect. We love our sweet food. We love our yummy, and especially with the cold weather coming,
yes.
the nice hearty, like soul nurturing food. Oh yeah, we still get down on good food, but for the most part, we have to stay good most of the
I
time.
know, and for the most part, I concur. I do have to eat well and make sure I'm getting in like healthy food. But on Fridays, I love our homemade deep dish Detroit style pizza, and we vary the toppings. Sometimes I want the vegan pepperoni and like jalapeno, and other times like this past Friday I did dinosaur kale with pesto and shallots, and it's just so good. That's like my I can't wait to have this pizza meal weekly.
Yeah, the first time
Amazing, by the way.
the first time I had some vegan deep dish, it was just okay to me. It was, but just regular vegan pizza though. I'm having a great boss. Shout out to the Curly Vegan and that cashew cheese.
Ooh.
She makes some great pizza, and
Oh,
she likes to have
fantastic.
a lot of different toppings on it. Shout out to my people at Pizza Head too. You know,
Yeah.
y'all know I'm still waiting on y'all to come through. But oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Just like that thing about
Since we
this
shout
pizza.
out cashew cheese, Picioli has great cashew cheese here too. Their vegan pizza is really good.
What's the name of it again?
Picioli. It's in
PCO.
Soulard.
PCO. I was just there yesterday.
Yeah, they have a cashew cheese that I think is fantastic.
Oh man, I don't know. Oh no, it was probably on the side that I didn't go in.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I had some vegan tamales yesterday. Shout out to Be Health. It's yourhealth.info in the vegan tamales. They were very
Tamales.
they were very good yesterday. Um, with that
We have
being
a
said,
place here in Jacksonville too. You guys are talking about pizza and you're making us crave it now. There's a place literally like 2 miles down the street from our house called Wild Pie here in Jacksonville, and they opened earlier this year, and they are always busy as well. Everything's from scratch. Everything is 100% vegan. And they also have desserts and big old cookies and fudge ice cream, and yeah, there's some good eats out there.
oh, that's great. That's great to hear. It's called What a Pie.
Wild
Oh,
pie.
Wild Pie.
That's
Wild
how hungry
pie.
I
I'm
am.
sorry.
I'm like, wild pie.
Yeah. See, everybody's getting hungry
Binge.
now.
I'm trying to remember all the restaurants.
Wild Pie
Yeah,
in Jacksonville.
I'll do a shout out for Seattle. We have Pizza Pie out here, also an institution. They've been here forever, 100% vegan, all kinds of different options. They have dessert options, pizza options, all kinds of stuff. So macaroni and cheese pizza, all kinds of good, amazing stuff. So if you're ever in Seattle, check them out.
Okay. Before we go, we're gonna wrap this episode up. Andy, since we got you on right now, can you give the people places where they can meet you at or see you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking, Damon. So if you do a search for Emerald City Vegan Eats, but essentially if you go to Instagram.com / Emerald City Vegan Eats, same thing for Facebook.com Emerald City Vegan Eats. And then I've also got the Facebook group that I mentioned. It's kind of tongue in cheek. So when I created the group, like I mentioned before, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when you have a lot of like vegans attacking one another and saying, you're vegans, you're not vegan enough, all that kind of stuff. So when I created the group, it was tongue in cheek. And so the name of the group is Seattle. What is it? Seattle Veganism, the non batshit crazy kind. And then I've got
It's a
another
long
one
name.
called Veganism, the non batshit crazy kind that isn't local to Seattle. But both of those are Facebook groups. And basically, they're just vegan groups, but just where the tenet is supporting one another, more on supportive, less on toxicity and whatnot. So, yeah, those would be the major social media outlets for me.
Thank you so much. And Fawn?
You're welcome.
My major hub right now is on Instagram. I just started my business in March, so my main hub is on Instagram. It's Cooking with Fawn, just like a baby deer, and same handle for my ebooks. You can go to payhip.com / cooking with fawn, and I actually have mini ebooks available for $5 that gets all of the staple foods from each book. So a lot of people will buy a cookbook and they won't cook 80% of what's in it. So I have mini books as well for $5 that give you all the staples of each book. And then I have the full-fledged books anywhere from $8 all the way to $15 with a holiday book coming out next Friday.
Oh, that's great. By the way, tell your husband he could have got on camera.
You want to say hi?
Because
He's dressed for his Broncos game here shortly.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Nice to meet you all. It's a pleasure.
too bad you work with that horrible team.
Lifelong, though. Lifelong.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I've been through the 55-10 loss and everything.
My
Yeah.
son was born in Denver. I'm a Cowboy fan, by the way.
I got you.
So, Rain,
I am on Instagram at Sweet Art St. Louis, STLOUIS. We also launched a plant-based cake mix and brownie company called Love and Magic. So that's on Instagram as well. Love and Magic Mixes, and on Instagram. So yeah, and you can find us. You can find everything at our website, sweetartstl.com.
That's great. You guys make sure y'all hurry up and get this. Y'all can see hey, by the happiness on my face. This is one of my favorite people.
Thank you.
And we just met. But yeah, definitely get her. And I would say the Make It Funky.
Oh.
Get that. Or the
Okay.
Throwback Burger. And like you were saying before, Fawn, that lemon kale salad that she got. Yeah, it's very good. Very
That's
good.
amazing.
You can get the half or you can get the whole. see, I beat you. I go to this place a lot.
Thank you.
No, but thanks again for everybody for showing up today.
Yeah.
Just
Thank you
remember,
for having us. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
thank-
us.
just remember, as always, have you had your plants today? And we are about to get out of here.
All right. Thanks much. Nice meeting everybody. And yeah, thanks for having us, Damon.
Much
Thank
love,
you so
everyone.
Y'all have a great Sunday. Eat some plants. Eat some. Obviously, we're gonna eat some pizza today. I know I am. Pizza head, I'm coming through. But thanks again. You guys have a great night. Thanks for coming through. Tequila and Tofu, we're out.